What's up, NASCAR fans? My name is Chris Werme, and this is my 2025 season preview for every full-time driver in the NASCAR Cup Series. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that are wondering what makes me qualified to give my predictions and or my preview for the season. Well, I bet this sport professionally for the last 5 years, and I've been watching racing every practice, every qualifying, every race, and all three series for the last 15 years. I also have a pre-race show where I talk about my predictions and my bets for the race. Now, don't worry, this is not a betting show. This is just a little bit of insight as to how I think this season might go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run through each team, and then each team, I'm going to rank each driver on that team, make some predictions about what I think is going to happen in 2025. Also, I'm going to give my opinion on where I think the drivers can improve or what could make it a more successful season for them. I set out initially trying to make a bold prediction for every driver, but let me tell you, that's impossible to have a bold prediction for all 36 drivers that I'm going to be going over today. So I'm going to talk about maybe where drivers can improve or what racetracks might be beneficial or might be a place where each driver has maybe the best opportunity to win if they're not one of the drivers that you think could win multiple races. So let's get going. Let's start with Hendrick Motorsports. Has anybody ever heard of them? Well, they have just the golden boys of racing in their stable. And I don't think it's shocking that I have Kyle Larson rated number 1 this year for Hendrick Motorsports. Is he coming off a disappointing season in 2025 or 2024 or a successful season? He won 6 races, and there's a good chance that NASCAR is going to change the playoff system due to the fact he didn't win, and he wasn't even in the Final Four for that matter. So I do think that Kyle Larson will have a great season this year. I think the other thing he's going to have this year, and I think this is most years Kyle Larson's going to do this, he's going to just lead the most laps. I think we can all agree with that. I think where Kyle Larson can improve would be finishing races. We've seen him make some silly mistakes late, and that's cost him. You know, for a guy that is out there leading all these laps, he probably should win more than he actually is. That's how dominant this 5 car has been in this sport. My bold prediction for Kyle Larson, I mean, I think a bold prediction for everyone that wins a lot of races or is going to kind of dominate the sport. I'm talking about the Denny Hamlins, the Christopher Bells, the Ryan Blaneys, the Kyle Larsons. They're going to struggle with this new playoff system. We go Darlington, Gateway, Bristol, Loudon, Kansas, Charlotte, and then we throw Talladega into the round of 8. And who knows what can happen there. So I would say I don't think Kyle Larson will make the Final Four this year. I think he will lead the most laps. He'll probably be kind of the dominant car throughout the season, but I don't think he makes the Final Four again this year. Don't come after me with pitchforks. Chase Elliott. Man, I got to be careful what I say. These Chase Elliott fans, they are unforgiving. Here's my issue with Chase Elliott. I don't know if it's setups, the driver, a combination of the two, but he was the fastest car about 0 times last year. And you say, hey, but Worm, he won at Texas. How do you explain that? He only had 8 fastest laps, which to me is not an indication of the fastest car. I think that was still Kyle Larson. However, Chase has been very consistent. This has kind of been his MO throughout his entire career. He's able to get good, solid finishes, and he's proven that year after year. You could also say, oh, he almost won at Martinsville. Well, I think Ryan Blaney was significantly faster than him at Martinsville in the fall as well. So I don't think he was the fastest car, and that's a little bit of a problem. It's really hard to win champion. Oh, boy. I'm going to have to walk this one back because we did have a car that won a championship that wasn't fast very often, but that's very different. Where Chase Elliott needs to improve, it's got to be on road courses. He's lost his edge completely. We used to just see him walk into road courses and he'd be the most dominant guy everywhere we went. But if you look at road courses last year, every other one of his teammates was able to win. Larson, Byron, and Bowman all won on road courses last year. Now, did he win the Clash? Yes. Is that a great start? Yes. Was he the best car? No. Ryan Blaney came from the back and still had a chance to pass him. Now, was Elliott saving his stuff? Maybe. But I think there's a really strong argument that Ryan Blaney was faster than Chase Elliott. Here's my prediction for Chase Elliott. And, oh, man, I just don't want people coming after me. I feel like he's going to be the second fastest car a lot. I think he's going to have like the Sheldon Creed thing where he just finishes second many times. I'm kind of the bridesmaid, but obviously Final Four potential if you remain consistent. Again, Talladega in that final group of 8 going to make it really difficult for you to make that prediction and who gets into the Final Four. William Byron. How do you have a hot take about William Byron? I have Chase Elliott ranked ahead of him, and I think that's my fault. I actually need to make a public apology to William Byron. After he won at, let's see, where was his third win last year? He won the Daytona 500. Then he won at COTA. And then he won at Martinsville. And I went on Twitter and I said, William Byron is the next Jimmy Johnson. I hope I didn't end his career, because after that, he went on to be the fastest car in exactly 0 races after that. Again, his strength, like Chase Elliott's, is his consistency. Where he can improve is driving through the field. He needs to hunt. Like, he needs to go find the lead. When Kyle Larson qualifies poorly, and even a 7th or 8th place qualifying is probably not where that 5 team wants to qualify. He hunts the lead. He is passing cars quickly and getting to the lead. William Byron just kind of rides around, and this is nothing against him. He doesn't hunt the lead. He kind of gathers it. He's won a lot of races just by being there at the end. But even when he wins races, if you go back to COTA, he was being hunted by Bell. So I do think what we need to see is more of what William Byron did in the spring last year at Martinsville, where he did actually hunt the lead. He ran the 5 and the 9 down his teammates and went out and won that race. We didn't see anything like that after. Yes, he did work his way into the Final Four, but I think, again, that was more consistency than anything else. I do expect Chase Elliott to be just a tier above William Byron this year. I don't know if that's a bold take, but I think it's really hard to put your finger on William Byron. Is he going to win 6 races? Is he going to win 1 race? I guess I'd be shocked at 6 and 1, but I wouldn't be shocked at, if he won 5 races or 2 races. And finally, Alex Bowman. Well, I've been a bit of a Bowman apologist, but unfortunately, the biggest mark he left on the 2024 season was the fact he got DQ'd at the Roval, let Joey Logano into the next round, the round of 8, where Logano goes on to win at Las Vegas, and then it's crowned your champion. That can't really happen. Again, a very difficult guy to handicap. His strengths, and I've seen this out of Bowman for years, he gets way better finishes than maybe where his car is at. If he struggles in practice and qualifying, he does a really good job of getting a solid finish. Maybe, he popped up in 11th place where maybe he was running 14th or 15th all day. The other thing about Alex Bowman is his ability to close out a race. If he is on the front row for a late race restart, he is clutch. A lot of people call him a hack, but I'd call him clutch, because if you give him a chance to win a race late, he's able to do that. And he's done that at places like Dover. He's done that at Las Vegas. He's done it at Martinsville. So this guy actually can get it done. He just needs to put himself in that position. Man, you're the 48 team. You got to take control of races. I mean, the old 48 used to unload fastest, qualify fastest, lead a bunch of laps. And I like seeing that. That's when I started watching NASCAR, was since this 48 team was always out front. So I'd like to see that out. I'd like to see this team figure that out. But I don't think it's just Alex Bowman. I think that there's some setup issues they got to work on, because they're clearly a little bit behind the 8 ball when it comes to qualifying and just how they unload as that particular team. So that closes out Hendrick Motorsports. Let's talk about Joe Gibbs Racing. Number 1, I don't think, and I'm going to get much of an argument here, Chris Bell. I was very shocked he didn't make the Final Four last year at Phoenix. I think he probably wins the championship had he been there. I think he did let some guys, I think he let the 22 and 12 kind of figure out who was going to win the championship. So he took a step back on that final restart and said, you know what, I don't want to be a part of it. Last year, the comments, people calling him an underdog in the playoffs, that was unintelligent because he was the favorite most of the season to win this championship, in my opinion, especially when you look at how he ran in the spring race, where one of the most dominant cars we've seen at Phoenix in a while. This guy is really good in that short track package. The other thing I would like to see from Chris Bell, I think he gets more vocal. People like what Chris Bell has to say. I loved what he said after Richmond. I love some of the stuff he said in the offseason. And the other thing he's doing is he's racing a ton again on the dirt track. It helped Kyle Larson. Can it also help Christopher Bell? He's got to improve. I wanted to say show up in the big moment, but this guy has won 2 cutoff races to advance. He's won at the Roval to advance. He's won at Martinsville to advance. So it's not quite the clutch. Where he has struggled a little bit is at high tire wear tracks. Even though you'd think that those dirt track guys, they like running the high line, they like running loose and driving the right rear off of the car. He hasn't been that successful in those tracks, especially someone like Darlington. He does have a win at Homestead. His car came to him late, but he definitely struggled early on. Hard to come up with a bold prediction for guys like Larson and Bell. I think they win 4 or 5 races, but not shocked if they win 6. These guys are the 2 heavy favorites, in my opinion, along with one other guy. I think that these 3 guys are going to kind of dominate this year. Excuse me. Denny Hamlin. I have him ranked 2nd at Joe Gibbs Racing. Excuse me. Denny Hamlin, in my opinion, is the most important person in NASCAR. I'll pause. Denny Hamlin is the most important person in NASCAR, and I'll debate anybody on that. Interesting stuff. Losing the FedEx sponsorship, I don't think that makes much of a difference when it comes to the on-track performance. Certainly not. But there might be some other stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Kind of interesting. Denny Hamlin is more relevant now than he's ever been. He owns a team. He is as competitive as he's ever been. He's got his own podcast, so he has a microphone. I don't know how you lose a sponsorship. How do you lose a sponsorship when you're more relevant than you've ever been? So I think that's kind of interesting. I don't think it'll affect the on-track performance. If you look at the end of last year, a little disappeary at the end. Didn't quite have the speed to get things done. I don't think the playoff finale being at Phoenix benefits Denny Hamlin. You have to look at that and say that that's probably the biggest knock on Denny Hamlin when it comes to winning a championship is he's going to have to go to Phoenix and win. Now, if that was at Homestead, I like his chances a hell of a lot more. So I think Phoenix is kind of that Achilles heel. The other thing, this crew chief, the Chris Gabehart's not going to be there. He's got Chris Gale, who's coming over from the 54. You really think that Chris Gabehart is going to let Chris Gale fail? I'm pretty sure they're going to pass along the notes that what made that car successful. I do think Gabehart was really good at setting up a race car and making adjustments. Where I think he struggled a little, excuse me, was I thought his race strategy was average at best. He put Denny in some tough positions. And I don't know if it actually cost him races, but it certainly cost him track position. There's some other guys that probably had better race strategy. So everyone's betting against Denny this year, and I think that's a bad idea. I think Denny is going to be as strong as he's been in the past, if not stronger. The way I describe Denny is if you are, let's just say you're in a foxhole, you're going to battle with someone. You pick Denny Hamlin. The guy's a winner. That guy's a competitor. You're going to get 110%, whether it's on the golf course, in the bowling alley. It does not matter. That guy is going to show up every single time. I also think he finds a finish line. And when it comes to racing late and maybe roughing guys up. I think Denny does a great job of getting the win, or, maybe a little checkers or wreckers. But I do think Denny does a great job of finding the finish line. Where he can improve is he just needs to make his mistakes earlier in races. I think, every time Denny made a mistake, it was in the last third, and they weren't able to recover. So it's not even that he has to not make mistakes. There's enough speed in that race car. There's enough talent on that 11 team for them to overcome mistakes, but you can't do it late in the race. So my advice to Denny, get better at your late race mistakes. If you could just make those a little earlier in the race, you could probably recover. And I think Denny could win 5+ races. That's my bold prediction. He's just not a guy you can bet against. He's great on concrete. I anticipate him to be good at Homestead. I anticipate him to be good at Martinsville, good at Darlington. He's going to be good at Kansas. You just can't count this guy out. I don't think Chris Gabehart leaving is going to hurt him that much. I certainly think that Chris Gale is going to be successful with this 11 team. And I expect a strong season from Denny Hamlin. Okay, new driver alert, Chase Briscoe. I have him ranked ahead of Ty Gibbs. This is, in my opinion, the number 3 driver already at Joe Gibbs Racing. I've been on the Briscoe is elite-ish bandwagon for some time now. Elite-ish. He's shown flashes of brilliance. Flashes of brilliance. All the way back to the Truck Series, I've seen this guy be a little bit of a wheelman. So I am very high on Chase Briscoe. Is this an upgrade from Truex? Man, this is a loaded question. I don't even know how you answer that. Based on current form, I mean, he went out there and won the Southern 500 to punch his ticket into the playoffs. What more do you want from the guy? I think his success is going to be determined upon the 54, though. I think that they're going to be comparing themselves to one another. And if Ty Gibbs goes out there and wins early in the season, and it takes Briscoe a while, they might, everyone at Joe Gibbs Racing would probably be okay with that, transitioning to a new team. But if Ty Gibbs wins 3 races and Chase Briscoe doesn't win one, I think that there's going to be a little bit of stress, not in like a bad way, but I think that there will be some just pressure on that 19 team to find speed. And you look at James Small as the crew chief still. He sets up fast race cars, and I think that's really important. And this is the best chance that Briscoe's had in a long time. And whenever you're kind of set up for success, he's probably going to add some of this own pressure. Here's my bold prediction. I think he wins one of the first 8 races. Whether it's a plate race, I don't know that that's necessarily his thing, but he's a good road course racer. He's won at Phoenix. He's been fast at Las Vegas before. And I think Homestead, I thought he was going to be great last year. Kind of fell up a little bit short. You go to Martinsville, he's been phenomenal at Martinsville. And then the 8th race this season, Darlington, he's already won there in lesser equipment. So I think Briscoe gets a win in the first 8 races. So you can go ahead and hold me to that one. I feel really strongly about that. Ty Gibbs. Last year, the best car he had all year was at the Clash. That's kind of crazy. As soon as he got out to like a 2.5 second lead in the Clash, I said to myself, this will be the best car he has all year. And sure enough, it was. And, is he going to get a win soon? Yes. Am I stressed? If you're Ty Gibbs, you should not be stressed. You're young. By the way, it also took Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott 99 races to get a win. So he does have a new crew chief and Tyler Allen as Chris Gale, as we talked, is going to be with Denny Hamlin. He just needs more reps. I think he's a talented kid. It's hard enough to win with the fastest car, and he hasn't been the fastest car quite yet. And it's even harder to win with a 5th or 6th place car. So he just needs to just find himself running in the top 5 late in races. Maybe he gets a lucky restart or you get a caution. But the other thing, he needs to improve just a little bit everywhere. I don't think, it's not any one thing for him. You can't just say, well, he needs to get better at super speedway racing, or he needs to get better at conserving his tires. I don't think you can just kind of pinpoint what it is. He just needs reps. Just get a little better everywhere. My bold take for him: don't think he wins this year. I don't think Ty Gibbs wins this year. So let's move on to Penske. Okay, let me say, if Ty wins 1, he wins 3. I don't think there's a scenario where Ty Gibbs wins 1 or 2 races. I think it's either 0 or 3. I'll say that. That's my bold take. Penske. I mean, putting Blaney ahead of Joey Logano and Josh Berry, I don't think that's necessarily revolutionary. Clash was impressive. He's kind of continuing his speed from last year. If you go back to last year's playoffs, I think he was one of the fastest cars at Kansas. Didn't actually get to flex his muscles out front. I thought he was the fastest, close to the fastest at Las Vegas. Got caught up. I don't know what to say about what happened at Homestead. And then he beat the brakes off everybody at Martinsville. And he has kind of a shady restart at Phoenix and isn't able to pass a very wide Joey Logano. I think this guy is going to have his best season ever. If the speed from last year's playoffs continue, he is going to be a force every single week. Now, I thought the same thing coming into last year, and he wasn't very fast early on. So if whatever it is, I don't know if it's this 12 team just really gears up for the playoffs, or maybe it's just a late bloomer in the season. I don't think that's going to happen this year. We saw it at the Clash. He drove from the back to the front. He's going to be a beast this year. I think, where he needs to improve are his DNFs. You can't be the first caution and be out of the race. Part of that is directly tied to qualifying. You cannot qualify back with the squirrels and not expect to get your nuts busted every now and then. You have to put yourself in position to win these races. You can't have mistakes on pit road. You can't have a poor pit stall. It's hard to win these races with the fastest car. If you put yourself back in traffic, you're going to find yourself in more incidents, and that's what Blaney needs to improve on. Start in the top 5 more. Find yourself, battling for the lead versus battling for 12th and 13th place. That's really important. I think he wins the most races this year. That's my bold prediction on Ryan Blaney. I expect him to just come out swinging. He's got great tracks early. I anticipate him to be really strong. Joey Logano. Well, he's got that dog in him. This is the most, like, the match made in heaven crew chief and driver. You got a crew chief that thinks outside the box on strategy, and he just puts it in Logano's hands, and that guy just gets it done. And you can hate on his average running position or average finish from last year, or he wasn't the fast car, yada, yada. They won, and they won fair and square under the rules. What else do you want? I'm sorry. You have to deal with it. You might not like it, but that's the deal. The crazy thing is, I think there's a big discrepancy in speed between the 12 and the 22, and we saw it all last year, especially at the end of the season when somehow Logano still won. If Joey Logano finds the speed of that 12, the field could be in big trouble. But I don't think he's gonna. He just needs to improve his speed. The speed's not there. The capability, the driving ability is there. He's serviceable on road courses. He's good on short tracks. He's good on super speedways. I mean, Joey Logano is the complete package. He's a 3-time champion. But he needs to improve his speed. Bold prediction for him? Can you say Joey Logano doesn't win a race? No, you can't say that. I don't think you can say that. I don't think he makes the round of 12. I don't think Joey Logano makes the round of 12. That's my prediction. I think that there's a big difference right now between that 12 and that 22. Maybe there's going to be some information sharing. I imagine you would think that Roger Penske might walk in and say, hey, 12, you're fast. Will you tell the 22 what you're doing? I don't know. I don't think he makes the round of 12. Josh Berry. I mean, is this a sidestep? It might be Penske. Is it a a vertical movement, a lateral? Is this? I don't know. I think it's a little bit, a light relegation only because this 21 has just not shown the same speed as the 22 and then 12. That's all. Losing Rodney Childers, I think, is a problem. I think it's a problem. Where he needs to improve is intermediates. Be fast on fast racetracks. I don't know. I could not think of a bold prediction for Josh Berry. Please, in the comments, let me know. What do you think a bold prediction for Josh Berry be? I mean, he would have to just, if he's going to win, it's got to be a super speedway. Is that bold? That's every driver that you don't think is going to win a race. That's what you say. Well, they could win on the super speedway. So I don't know. I don't have much of an opinion on Josh Berry this year. I'll be interested to see. Maybe he'll surprise me to the upside. I'm not counting on it, though. All right, let's move on to RFK. The number one guy at RFK, and I don't even think this is close, is Chris Buescher. If you're Chris Buescher and you want to pitch yourself as a driver to an owner, you walk into the office, you shake their hand, you sit down, and you only need to say one sentence. I can win anywhere. This guy has won on all types of tracks. He went back-to-back a couple of years ago at Richmond and then Michigan, out of nowhere. And it wasn't a fluke either. He held off Martin Truex Jr. at Michigan, one of the fastest cars we've seen to not win a race in my time. And I mean, this car was a spaceship, and Chris Buescher just held him off like it was no big deal. He's won on road courses. He's won on super speedways. And I think that super speedways program is only going to get better with the addition of Ryan Preece. I think Chris Buescher has a ton of talent. Where he needs to improve, they just need to unload a little bit better. They've shown that they've had long run speed. I just think that floor needs to be raised up. You see some of these racers run 18th, 19th, or 17th, and it's like, what is he doing back there? Did you miss it that much? This team cannot miss it that much. If you're going to compete for championships, which is what I know that RFK wants to do that. I know Brad Keselowski wants to do that. You just have to lower that floor. Make a bad race like a 13th place finish. That'll go a long way over the 26 races of the regular season. Bold prediction on Chris Buescher. I think he wins 3 races, and I think he makes a deep playoff run. Hasn't been strong at Phoenix. That really hurts him when it comes to the championship. But I think he's kind of the sleeper that could really get something done if RFK finds some speed. Now, if you remember, in the middle of the year at 1.5 mile tracks, they were as fast as anybody. He almost won at Kansas. RFK was the fastest, in my opinion, at Darlington. You could sit there and argue that Tyler Reddick was the fastest, but Tyler Reddick was just winning the race off pit road in the spring. And then slowly but surely, these RFK cars would run him down and make the pass. So I thought that he was also, if you look at RFK at the Coke 600, I know that Chris Bell got the win, but he wasn't the fastest car. That was Bad Brad, and he's who I have ranked second at RFK. It's crazy that you can almost say the same thing week in and week out about Buescher and Brad. They're just very similar in speed, maybe in setups. I don't know about that. But where Buescher really separates himself is on road courses. Brad has struggled mightily. He's won everywhere, but those were in different cars. And apparently this car just kind of fits Buescher's style when it comes to road courses. So, I think that's why I give such an edge to Buescher, in this car. But they both need to improve the same things, unload a little bit better. Unloading, just that start to the week, being behind the 8 ball, makes qualifying more difficult. And then it puts you at a tough pit stall. It puts you back with other cars. There's more chances of mistakes. It is so hard to win races, like I said, with the best car. Once you start putting yourself back there in traffic, things can happen. You find yourself with DNFs when, oh my gosh, had we just unloaded a little better, had we just qualified in the top 10, I think you're going to see that with all 3 of these cars. Now, Ryan Preece, I'm going to say this is a better situation for him. I think RFK legit showed speed last year. Was there a time when you went, well, SHR showed a lot of speed. Now I get it. Chase Briscoe did win at Darlington. That's some talent there. You win at Darlington, and Chase Briscoe is good at Darlington. He's good at high tire wear tracks. There's some serious talent behind the wheel of that 14 car. So I think that this is a better situation. I think RFK has more speed across the board than SHR did. I also think, adding that car for Brad and Buescher, I think that's going to be good. Brad Keselowski is a smart guy, and I think he can help Ryan Preece. Obviously Ryan Preece, short track guy, that's where you expect him to kind of excel. If he does get it, I'm not saying he's going to win a race. If he gets in contention, it's going to have to be a place like Martinsville. It's going to have to be a place like Richmond. Those are going to be where he excels relative to the field just with his background. So if you're going to anticipate him being good, look to those short tracks, but I'm also curious to see what happens when he has a little bit more speed under him at these intermediates, at these 1.5 mile tracks, maybe these 2 mile tracks. Ryan Preece can maybe pick it up a little bit. Where he needs to improve, I don't know that he needs to improve, but he needs to run where his teammates run. There might be a little bit of a grace period for Ryan Preece, the first 5, 6, 7 races, but then you better start running where Buescher and Brad are running, at least where Brad's running. If Buescher's kind of running away, I think he's going to separate himself a little bit this year. And I could be wrong, but I think he's going to separate himself. Ryan Preece, you better run with Brad or you better run with Buescher. I think the last thing you want to do is be exposed. And that could happen. That could happen with a guy like Chase Briscoe. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could, and you could see a massive difference. There's going to be a grace period, but ultimately Ryan Preece needs to be running around his teammates. A bold take on Ryan Preece? Maybe lead some laps this year. That'd be bold. That's a bold take, I think, for Ryan Preece. So moving on to 23XI. Tyler Reddick, yeah, you have to have him ranked a little bit ahead of Bubba Wallace coming off of his Final Four. Man, what a legendary pass at Homestead last year. Legendary pass. You go back and look at that situation. Ryan Blaney knew he had Martinsville in his back pocket. Tyler Reddick also knew Ryan Blaney had Martinsville in his back pocket. And it was one of the most incredible, legendary passes this sport has seen in a long time. Now, you throw out the Hail Melon or whatever, you want to talk about some other finishes, it's arguably up there. It was incredible. Where he needs to improve is I have him listed as like a high beta guy. Yeah, he's going to take some risk and make some passes, but he's also going to make some mistakes. I just think he needs to be more consistent across the board. He also has kind of disappeared as a road course, ringer. Man, that was like a flash in the pan. He was the fastest thing for a few races and poof, gone. It was just, where did that go? Where did that edge go? And yes, the field is getting better at these road courses and they're getting more used to these cars. So that does make a little bit of sense, but is that something he can get back? We got 6 road course races. You got to get better. You have to be good at those. You cannot just mail it in on road courses anymore, especially when you're going to have the Charlotte Roval is going to be a cutoff race again to get into the round of 8. Man, how nice would that be to know that you're going to unload fast where some of these guys just kind of know that. I do not put Tyler Reddick in that group yet. However, if he unloads at COTA, goes out there, he's won there before, he could be strong, but he has to get better at those the road courses again. Bold take on Reddick? I don't know. What's a bold take on Reddick? I just don't have one. I could see him. The issue is there's not a Homestead for him to sail it off and win a race in these final few races. Las Vegas. Yeah, he was good there last spring. Then you go to Talladega. Sure. Okay. And then Martinsville is a no-go for this guy. He better, it's going to be really hard for him to get back to the Final Four. I think he almost has no chance at getting back to the Final Four. Unless he just has a monster regular season with a lot of wins. Bubba. Was it just me, or was there just a little bit of regression this year from the 23 team from 2023 to 2024? I think Bubba's a talented driver. I also think he's really hard on himself. It looks like Bubba Wallace week in and week out is carrying the weight of the world. That's just what it looks like to me. And I have no idea what it's like to be Bubba Wallace, but I think he is so hard on himself. He is a damn talented race car driver. He's getting better. I think a lot of Bubba's issues are kind of like self-inflicted mentally. That's what I think, because I think the talent's there. I think the talent is absolutely there in Bubba Wallace. I'm hoping he can have a good run. I think it'd be great. It'd be great for the sport to have Michael Jordan's cars up there racing for wins. The more, the merrier. I mean, is it bold to say he wins a race? I can't hold. I can't say that that's bold. I think he just got to get out there and lead more laps. Just get out there and lead laps. Your teammates doing it. Lead laps. Riley Herbst driving the 35 car. I will say this. Last year, that race at Indy, that Xfinity race, that was some of the best driving I've ever seen. This was impressive. The other thing Riley's done, I know that we haven't seen him in the Cup Series that much, but he put some beatdowns in the Xfinity Series. I mean, he won some races in blown away fashion. If he can catch those setups in Cup, that might mean a top 10, right? That's the difference. You know, you can catch a setup in the Xfinity Series and really drive away. In the Cup Series, Riley Herbst can catch a setup and maybe run top 10. You know, what could he improve? I don't know if there's an improvement, but I'll tell you, if he's doing this, if he's staying on the lead lap in the broadcast is saying, hey, Riley Herbst didn't qualify well. He qualified in the 24th position. And look at, he's running 13th to start stage 3. That's a real good goal for him. What you want is the broadcast or people to notice this guy's kept it clean. He's kept it out of trouble. Maybe that meant he went a lap down. But if he can find himself back on the lead lap and in just kind of there in the mid-teens, late in races, I think that'd be pretty successful for him. Now, I do think my bold prediction for Riley Herbst would be there will be one race where he is a top 10 car, where he's a top 10 car and he drives up through the field or he qualifies well and he just kind of keeps it there. And not one of those things where half the field wrecks or it's a strategy thing. I think just on speed and talent, he can get one top 10 this year. And I'm not talking about super speedways. I'm talking about tracks where you actually have to race, kind of up front. Trackhouse. I mean, I guess I'm going to get bold right away. I think SVG is going to have the most successful Trackhouse season. That's what I think. I mean, he's going to win more races, isn't he? I mean, how many races are Ross and Suarez going to win? I don't know. I think SVG is looking at 6 races going, I'm going to be the favorite in all of them. And I think you've got a real good chance to win the first time we go to a track. He's going to win more races and go further in the playoffs. So now, is he going to be racing for wins week in and week out? No, but neither have those other Trackhouse cars. So where SVG is going to, I guess, kind of set his sights, or where he should set his sights, in my opinion, is, man, keep it on the lead lap. Get better throughout the races. You know, he's going to have a steep learning curve going. But we saw this in the Xfinity Series. He would unload in practice. Terrible. I mean, so bad. He'd qualify terrible. He'd get put a lap down early. But he'd eventually get his lap back. He'd start to get a little bit of into a little bit of a groove. And then you might find him kind of wandering, 14th, 15th place when he unloaded, it looked like 25th. And that's in the Xfinity Series. If he can do that same kind of thing. Now, I know for all you people that say it's very different in the Xfinity Series than the Cup Series, thank you. I'm very aware. But if he can keep it on the lead lap, he's going to learn fast. This guy's very talented. I think he just needs to continually stay on that lead lap and get finishes that what you want is your average finish to be better than your average running position. That should be his goal, because that means he's kind of getting the best finish possible. And gosh, what's a bold prediction for him? He's going to win a race, right? We can all agree there. I think he's going to win a race. He gets to the playoffs. Darlington, Gateway, Bristol. Can you just keep it out of trouble? Can you just keep it out of trouble and advance? Maybe. I think it's going to be really hard for him. But he could. Then you're going to put a road course in there in the next round. I don't know. I think it'd be real interesting to see SVG in the round of 12, knowing that there's a road course to advance. That's all I'm going to say. Do I think that's going to happen? No, but these are bold predictions. Ross, I think 2024 is a little bit of a regression for him. You know, he can win anywhere, right? We've seen this guy, Chastain, he's gritty, but he needs to get back to that. He needs to get, like, it's almost like he had his wings clipped. Like, no, I understand, you know, the Chevy thing and racking, and you were, you need to get back to that, Ross. That's who you are as a racer. Just get back to it. You might piss some people off along the way, but you know what? I think markets work. You know, we saw, you know, if you race people a little differently, they're going to race you differently. So, you know, I think he needs to throw on the mask and the cape and do what Ross used to do. Maybe piss some people off, maybe ruffle some feathers, but he's got to get back to it. This last year, I thought, was definitely a tough year for all of Trackhouse the entire season. You know, he did win in Kansas in the playoffs, but you know, that wasn't just a dominant fashion. You know, he didn't have a ton of fast laps, so or I don't think he had the most fast laps. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of expectations for him. I mean, what's a bold prediction for Ross Chastain? Does he win? Are we even talking about, does Ross Chastain even win? I don't know. He's got to win, right? But speed-wise, this was a sideways step last year, if not a little bit of regression. Suarez. Hard to be optimistic about this year. Hard to be optimistic. You got a lot of new talent coming on board. It was never really fast at all last year. I'll tell you what he's really good at, staying on that lead lap. It's like Ryan Newman. I think he's a talented race car driver, but we're just not seeing the speed. Just not seeing speed. I know he wanted Atlanta, and it was thrilling. That got him in the playoffs, but he was the first round out. Come on. We all knew that was going to happen. I think he just got to get better. He's got to get better all around. It's not just one thing, right? When your teammates are winning races, you just got to get better all around. You just got to get better on road courses. You got to get better on intermediates. You got to get better on super speedways. You got to just get better. Like, and that's just not on Suarez. That's on the whole team. Everyone's got to get better. Less mistakes. Qualify better. Unload better. Make better adjustments. Everything has to be a order of magnitude better for this 99 team. RCR. Well, I still have Kyle Busch ahead of Austin Dillon, obviously. I mean, 2 years ago, I was as high on Kyle Busch as I've ever been on a driver. I was on him to win the championship. I thought he was going to, I was over on his win total. All of these things that I just thought were locks. And was I wrong about that? That was 2 years ago. And then last year, doesn't win a race. And it was just not a Kyle Busch season. In addition to not winning a race, he was the first guy out of a lot of races. And it seemed like every practice there was a caution for him spinning. Whether he got damage or not, I'm not sure. But, man, it was every week there was a caution for Kyle Busch. It was almost like every week he was the first caution. I like Kyle Busch. Of course, he's an incredible driver. He's an incredible driver. But he's got to start finishing races. Like, you can't just spin out and drive straight to the garage. Sorry. it looked like it was coming. It was happening to you a hell of a lot more than it was happening to anyone else. Bold prediction, Kyle Busch. I don't know. Daytona 500 winner. I'd love to see it. Okay, he's my Daytona 500 winner. I'd love to see Kyle Busch win a 500. I would love to see that. Austin Dillon. For all you Austin Dillon fans out there, there are a lot of Austin Dillon fans. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I get why he did what he did last year. I mean, we don't really need to unpack that. The really hard part about that whole scenario is if there's not a caution, he wins the race. He was the best car. He just caught a caution. That's why, like I said, it's hard enough to win with the best car. And I get why he did it. You got an entire team counting on you. Winning, you're in. So once a year, he's kind of really good. And that's what I expect. One time this year, whether it's Richmond, maybe it's a high tire wear track, he'll be good. He's got to improve kind of everywhere. I don't know. Austin Dillon, does he already have like 1 foot in the, kind of running RCR? Is that a thing? Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I don't have a real high expectations for Austin. He's really good at high tire wear tracks, though. And then there's some short tracks where he's been very effective, clearly. Spire, boy, putting a lot of resources behind this team. Who do you guys think I'm going to have ranked first? Spire. Well, if you guessed Carson Hocevar, you would be correct. Kind of a Carson Hocevar apologist. Mainly you're from the same hometown. Shout out 269, Southwest Michigan. If we were to wear like the eye black patches, we put 269 on there. Well, we know his shortcomings, right? I mean, do we need to revisit those, that he makes boneheaded decisions and just races people weird? I mean, weird, I guess, would be a really nice thing to say. But again, I like to think that market forces kind of work. And I think that he's going to get raced the way he races people. And if he races them like a dickhead, then that's how he's going to be raced. So as bad as that is, man, this guy finds speed. He finds speed. You want to talk about hunting positions? When he has speed, he moves to the front. No one's wondering how good his car is. That guy, there's been a few times where, I've been watching lap times going, woo, okay, 77, I see you. He's fast. I don't care what you put him in, he's fast. But, does that come with some boneheaded mistakes? Yeah, and I think he can clean those up, because it's not like he's a reckless driver. It's like he's a reckless decision maker, and that might be worse. So improve decision making, And then when it comes to a bold take, I think this one's bold. I think he can take the lead straight up in a race. I don't think he wins. I don't think he leads a bunch of laps. But I think he leads some laps. And not on a super speedway. Not on a super speedway. I think he will lead laps this year. I think Spire's headed in the right direction. He's only going to get faster. I can't imagine him taking a step backwards. I think Carson Hocevar could lead some laps this year. Not a ton, but I think he could lead some laps. I think Michael McDowell I have second. This is a great barometer for Spire, in my opinion. Like, I think it was, whether you think it was a kind of a lateral move or not, he made the right decision for himself. But he's a great barometer because you know what you're going to get from him. You're going to have a real solid road course performance, and he's going to be strong in super speedways. Now, some of that could have been Front Row Motorsports. Their aerodynamic package was phenomenal. But you know what you're going to get from McDowell. If his car's trash, he's not going to be good. If he's got something capable of running well, he will run strong. So I think he'll be more consistent than the 77 and 71. But I do think that the upside for Carson Hocevar is why I have him ranked ahead of Michael McDowell. I don't know how you improve Michael McDowell. I don't know. I got nothing for him. I have nothing for him on a bold. I don't know where Spire's road course program is. It's been really hard to tell. I know that Carson Hocevar restarted on the front row at Watkins Glen, which I was just like, what in the heck? But that wasn't because he raced his way there. So I'm not sure where Michael McDowell fits in, but he'll just be a great barometer. These three guys, and now Justin Haley, Rodney Childers is good. So, and as the crew chief of this 7 team, and Justin Haley, you have one of the best to ever do it. So I think that absolutely is going to help. Hopefully all of Spire, but maybe just a 7 team. A lot of talent in Justin Haley. This is a good spot for him in his career. He's got kind of a Carson can find speed. McDowell is kind of the father-like figure, and obviously he's been good at road courses. Haley's been good at super speedways, and certainly has his racecraft. Very, I guess, solid. I guess he's just a solid guy. So I don't know if any of the Clash stuff where he was just kind of. I guess he was racing, I guess, very aggressively. So I don't know if that's a new thing or if that's coming from, just kind of in meetings. We needed to be more aggressive. Who knows? But he just needs to be around fast cars and then outrun his teammates sometime. That would be a great thing for Justin Haley to do. And I don't know, bold. Geez, I don't know what a bold take on Justin. This is where the bold takes get really hard. They get really hard. Legacy, Eric Jones, a little regression. Man, I don't know if it's regression. I think that legacy is just tough right now. I feel bad for him. I would say that he is probably the driver that is better than his equipment. He's like the best driver relative to his equipment. Does anybody else agree? I mean, he was this guy's won big races for Joe Gibbs Racing, but you have to step aside for Chris Bell. I get it. But Eric Jones, this winning the Southern 500 in that 43, I mean, wow, that's great driving. So the talent is there with Eric Jones. So clearly they're missing something when he's running a lap down or multiple laps down. John Hunter. A tough read. I think he's solid as a driver. You put him in the Xfinity series, you put him in good equipment, he's going to win races. He's going to make passes. He's going to lead laps. Absolutely. In the Cup series, I guess, just don't be the late caution or just don't be a caution at all. Don't have a ton of feel on this 42 car and John Hunter Nemechek. I hope that's not why you tuned in. I'm really sorry if that is why you tuned in. But let's get on to Front Row Motorsports. I have Gilliland in this 34 car to, I think, kind of lead this group of 3 young drivers. He showed speed at some places last year, not only super speedways, but also at high tire wear tracks. I mean, he passed Denny Hamlin straight up. That was, man, Denny Hamlin's radio that day, he said, hey, Denny, you're clear behind the 38. I'm sorry, what? Denny Hamlin is clear behind the 38. Yikes. That is not something I think Denny Hamlin wanted to hear, but I think it's a credit to Front Row Motorsports and Todd Gilliland. So, I think he'll be the most competitive, or I guess most consistent driver. But time to start racing around the front half of the teams. Like start racing 13th, 14th on some of these tracks. And that needs to kind of just be where you sit with Front Row. And I don't know where he can really improve or what a bold prediction would be for him. But I'm interested to see what this trio of drivers kind of brings to the table for Front Row Motorsports. And we'll see if they keep up their speed in qualifying. I mean, they're qualifying for Daytona. It's probably from when this gets released, either yesterday or a couple nights ago. Noah Gragson, I've always liked Noah. I don't know why. I think of these 3 guys, he has the ability to compete the most up front. I don't think he'll be the most consistent. I just think he has a higher ceiling than Todd Gilliland and Zane Smith. Maybe that's just because of his high tire wear and his ability to run the top. Now, it's only a few tracks. I also think he could be the first guy a lap down at some tracks. So, although I don't think he's going to be the most consistent, I do think he has the most upside if he does catch a setup. He's like Larson is kind of the top of, kind of these high tire wear or high line tracks. Then you have like mini Larson, and that's Tyler Reddick. And then you have mini Tyler Reddick is Noah Gragson. So I think that those are kind of the three guys that really run the boards aggressively. You can maybe throw Chase Briscoe in there as well, but Gragson is mini Reddick, and Reddick is mini Larson. Just write all that down. I don't know. I don't know how he can improve. I guess he's got to get it just more consistent. I mean, a lot of these guys kind of at the bottom, kind of half, they just need to be more consistent across the board. Zane Smith, last year probably wasn't the year he wanted. It's just a young team. I don't know what to expect out of Zane Smith. I can't, that'd be a week to week basis. I have not a lot of expectations for him. It'd be interesting to see where these three drivers run relative to each other. I think Gilliland will just for sure be the most consistent. I think Gragson will show flashes of brilliance, even though they might be short flashes of brilliance. And I'm not sure quite where Zane Smith fits in, but if he can just show some consistency, maybe run up there with Gilliland, I think that'd be great for him. Kaulig, I love seeing AJ back in Cup. I hope he wins. I think that his radio is the most entertaining radio to listen to. If you're bored one day, or you're bored watching a race, or you need something else to listen to, man, AJ Allmendinger's radio on a road course, or any track for that matter, is definitely worth the price of admission. Kaulig, man, that was a step backwards last year. His performance in Xfinity wasn't even that great. I know he made it to the, deep in the playoffs, but he was never really in contention. AJ is just not a guy you can ever count out on road courses. And there are some tracks where, high tire wear comes in, where he's had some success in the past, even in the Cup Series. It just checkers of records for him on the road courses. He wants to win. He wants to win. And so just know that if he's up there racing for the lead, he's going to do anything he can to win that race, even if that means it's a DNF or he finishes last. Just got to improve consistency on ovals. That's all. And I don't know that that's necessarily just on him. AJ is a talented race car driver. I think that they need to make sure that they unload with cars that are fast. Ty Dillon, I cannot believe this is like his best chance in Cup. That's just shocking to me. Been a tough road for old Ty. It's been a while since he's kind of been competitive in anything. But he even said that this is his best chance. So I don't even know what that means. Like, where does he run? Like, I just don't know. I'm pulling for Ty. He seems like a good dude. But Ty's success is going to be based on like what AJ's feedback is on the team. And, I don't expect Ty to run up with AJ at all on road courses, but there should be some tracks where I think that Ty can outrace AJ Allmendinger if all things are being equal. Ty's a very talented race car driver. I just don't know that Kaulig as a whole, they got to be optimistic because last year is over, but hard to see that team take a step backwards last year, in my opinion. Lonely old Ricky Stenhouse in the 47 car. I don't know about Ricky. He's talented, but he's also a little spinny, he's always kind of the first guy to try another line. I guess you could throw him in that kind of dirt track. He's a searcher, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know where, he kind of fits in when it comes to success this year. He's been obviously great on super speedways. He won at Talladega last year. He's a super speedway guy. He's had some good runs at Bristol in the past. We haven't seen that recently. Solid for a one-car team, but I just don't know what his expectations are. I don't know kind of the inner workings of that team and what to expect this year from them. Do I think he's going to win a race? No, I don't. But certainly, if he shows up to a super speedway, he could get it done. Cody Ware, go get it done on super speedways, bro. That's all I got for you. I guess glad to see you back in the sport, and you're gonna have to win on super speedways because it's tough out there. So that's it. That's kind of my full rundown of everyone that's a full-time Cup Series driver this year. Again, my name is Chris Werme. You can find me on Twitter at ChrisWerme15. That's ChrisWerme15. You can also catch the pre-race poll on both Twitter and YouTube. And that's just a pre-race show where I make all predictions after practice and qualifying, after we've kind of gathered all the data from the week, and then make my predictions on who I think will finish in the top 10 for that particular race. I will also pick a winner, and we have an adult beverage and we enjoy ourselves. So thanks, everyone. This was kind of my first time venturing outside of the gambling content, but hopefully you liked it, and we will see you next time.